Okay, so now we made it to the part where this is what you need to do in class. So if you guys take a look at the MyPLTW website, and we're going to scroll down to where we're at now. So that should be, keep on scrolling, right? Okay, here with blood spatter. So I want you guys to take a look at this information with blood spatter. And like I said, there's information about the blood spatter analyst, but there's some pictures right below this that will be of interest to you. And so it talks about blood stain pattern analysis. So basically that's taking a look and examining and interpreting the blood stains found at a crime scene. So analysts examine the size, shape, distribution, and location of the blood stains in order to form opinions about what did or did not happen. So if you click, you have the option to figure out what those pictures are on the top of your page. So go ahead and pause this as you label what those 5 different pictures are at the top. And my recommendation, what I told people on Monday, is to record the information for what it is, like the name of it, but then I'd also just try to put a few notes about what that means. So for example, with transfers, I would say transfers, and I would say when blood comes into contact with the surface. And so if you look at this picture here, you can see there was a hand that had blood on it and it touched this surface. Or if you look down here, it looks like whatever was bloody was drug across the floor. So that's what a transfer is. So like I said, if you just take a look, pause this video right now and record the rest of that information and then come back when you're finished with that. So welcome back. If you continue to scroll down, you'll say that a blood spatter analyst has already done some preliminary work in analyzing the stains found at the scene of Anna's death, but they'd also like your opinion. So when you take a look, this is a similar pattern. If you don't really remember it was at the crime scene, this is a similar pattern, what was found there. And so it says, how do you think this blood spatter was produced? Discuss with a partner. So just take a minute, talk to somebody near you, or talk as a whole class. Raise your hand if you have an idea how this blood spatter was produced. And it says there's a chance for you to check your response, so go ahead and do that. So our plan of attack for today is you guys want to design a blood spatter experiment. And what I did with the other class is I just said, let's just do this as a class to kind of help us out and make sure we're all on the same page, especially since I knew I wasn't going to be in class with you guys. And so basically what it says is the blood spatter analyst is counting on you to determine whether Anna was hit while she was standing or she was hit on her way down. So to do this, you guys are going to work with a partner or partners, if there's an odd number, to design an experiment to investigate how height affects blood stain patterns. So that is basically our task at hand. How does height affect blood stain patterns? So the size of the blood circle may provide valuable information regarding the height from which it fell. So we basically get to test this out. So it says that we want to take a look and identify the question. So write a question or problem statement for your experiment. So if you guys look at your document, let's take a look, and you should have this top part filled in. But it says here we want to have a question. So I'm going to scroll down here. And so basically what we said is, whoop, I'm still in the zoom in. Sorry, everybody. Let's go back a little bit. Let's go a little bit bigger. Okay. So when we take a look at the question, let's put here basically what I was talking to you about when we were looking at that previous screen. What effect does the height of the droplet have on its diameter? So let's just all have that same statement because that's what we're trying to test. So now I want you to fill in your prediction. What do you think happens if we were to drop blood from a short distance compared to a much taller distance. So I want you to put a statement here, and I'm going to give you basically what I would put for the statement, but I'm going to put a blank. I don't want you to put a blank, but I want you to fill it in. So we're going to say the higher the height of the droplet, here's the blank, the diameter. So what that means is the higher the blood is dropped from, what do you think is going to happen to the size of that droplet? Is it going to be smaller than the shorter heights, or is it going to be larger? You fill in the blank. So smaller, larger, those are your options. So then it talks to us about the independent variable and the dependent variable. And this is always something that students seem to struggle with. So I highly encourage you to come up with a great way to remember which is which. But I'm going to scooch back over to the PLTW site because I wanted to show you that whenever these terms are highlighted, if you click on it, it will give you a definition. So it says independent variable is in an experiment, the variable that the researcher intentionally changes to determine its influence on the dependent variable. So when we look at our question, we said, what effect does the height of the droplet have on its diameter? So one of the things mentioned is the independent, and that's what's going to impact the dependent. So the independent variable, we are going to write the height from which droplet falls. And so our dependent variable then, as we look at this question, we have two different things. So the dependent, what depends on the height, is going to be the diameter of the droplet. So once you have that information filled in, we're going to basically come up with the plan. And you're going to see that this is pretty simple because we wanted to make sure you guys had time to be able to do this in class today. So if you guys would record, and if I were there, I would chat with you about this more. Sorry that you don't have the chance to say your 2 cents. But think about it. If we want to figure out the impact of height on the diameter, we're basically going to have to use a pipette filled with blood and drop it from various heights as I drop it on my desk. I knew that I was going to do that, so I didn't use the fake vampire blood that's kind of thick. Instead, I just used some colored water, so it's all good. So in this experimental plan, here's the steps that we're going to do. So if you guys would go ahead and just record, we'll just say step 1. We're just going to say drop droplets of blood from various heights. Oops, sorry. Record the heights they are dropped from as you go. And then, once dry, measure the diameter for all of the droplets. And I'm going to say all of the valid droplets. So you're going to see sometimes you might get air bubbles and things like that. And so just make note of those and maybe don't write anything with it. But every time it's a good drop, you want to be recording from which height that droplet fell from. And so just to give you a few more specifics, it says drop droplets of blood from various heights. I'm going to put in parentheses. Go from 20 centimeters to, so here's something you have to think about. How tall do we want to go? Now, when we met on Monday to do this, we couldn't find anywhere where it told us exactly Anna Garcia's height. So if anybody can find that information, please send me a message and let me know. We just looked through a couple things and we couldn't find it. So see if you can find that information. But one thing that we were able to determine and decide is basically as long as you can go to at least 150 centimeters, that should give you plenty of data. And what you guys are going to see, I'm going to ask you to watch another little video clip to kind of help you see how this works so that you can make sure that you're doing this properly. But you can see that they start at 20 and they try to go, they just had 1 meter stick. So that's all the taller they went. I want you guys to go at least to 150 centimeters. And wherever you drop it from the distance in between, that's really insignificant. You just want to make sure that you're marking. So each time you drop, I would have one person that's holding the meter stick and looking to see where's the end of the tip of the dropper. So what height is it dropping from? And as soon as it drops, write down right next to it how many centimeters that is so that you can get the data that you need from all of those drops. The other thing that I would add in here is try to get 2 drops per height. And then that way you just can double check your information. So if you drop it from 20, then drop it from 20 again, a little bit farther over on your paper. You'll see in the back of the room behind the mannequin, I have the big sheets of the white paper. So you guys are going to go to the back of the room, find a spot to sit down on the floor. That's what you'll have to do in order to perform this experiment. You'll also see there's meter sticks. So each group will need to grab 2 so that when you get past 100 centimeters, you can have the opportunity to go to at least 150. And so those are the tools that you'll need. Plus, you'll see that there's cups with the pipettes with the vampire blood. Now be careful because this will stain, and so please watch out. When we did this on Monday, I know we talk about proper protective equipment, and I do have the face shields, but you can see that it's not going to splatter and spray all over, so it's really okay if you don't put anything over your eyes. I wanted to kind of limit that from happening because of proper sterile procedures and me not being here, so you guys just want to be careful. The first thing is, though, I know you washed your hands when you came in, but when you go to the back of the room before you start grabbing anything, please do me a favor and wash your hands again, just for proper lab safety, just to, we want to keep everybody safe. And then you'll do that again as soon as you're done with the lab. And so what I want you to do before you get started and before you wash, take a look at the video. And so if we make this a little bit smaller so you guys can see, it's right down here. So it says, for information about this, check out Blood Spatter Lab. So you guys are going to click on that and you will see Heidi's 2 daughters being great little guinea pigs as they perform this procedure. Now, what I'm going to tell you is it takes a while for the blood to dry. And when we did this earlier, it was still a little bit wet. So you have the option. What I would say is wait as long as you can. It probably takes about 10 minutes at the end of class. So meaning at about 9:25, just kind of keep track of your time. But at 9:25, I would head back there and have each person in your group grab those see-through rulers that you'll see on the back table and do your best to measure everything. And you'll see there's a little video, so I would watch that first. But Heidi gives you an example of what to do and how to measure using millimeters. That's what you're going to measure. And it also says at the end in this box here, you're going to want to include a picture of your blood spatter. So everybody should take a picture of that in your group. And also on your paper, I would record everybody's initials. That way we know for sure who was part of the group, and everybody should take part. Like I said, 1 person dropping the blood and 1 person with the measuring. If you have a group of 3, have 2 people with the measuring, maybe 1 person watching and 1 person writing it down. So everybody has a task and everybody's contributing, because that's just what we do in science. So take a look at that information. Start this video, take a look and get your droplets, then come back for the last video I have for you guys. Keep up the good work.